Welcome back to the This Week in Fantasy series. I'm your host, Venomous, and today I have a very special guest with me, one of the longest running members in this entire league, a guy who has been in it since 2007, and a man who is the firstborn son to the commissioner. I have the mighty 2-1 Cameron with me. Cameron, how are you, buddy?
Doing well, how are you?
Doing good. I'm ready to get into this. So Cameron, you've surprised a lot of people this year. Not only are you 2-1 and you're second in your division in a very threatening manner, but you have a very scary team, and this is despite Antonio Brown, aka Mr. Birdchest, being such a cocksucker he got himself out of the league, in addition to Melvin Gordon holding out. But we now figured out that Melvin Gordon is in fact gonna come and sign.
I just hope it's not, week 10.
No, it's gonna happen soon. Yeah, within
Cool.
the next couple of weeks. That was recent
Hope
news.
so.
So let's talk about last week's matchups, as we do every week. We had me beating the Gouch. The Gouch, of course, is 1-2, just like everyone else in my division, not named me. And if we're going to look at this very briefly, we can see that Julio Jones popped off. He's considered a top-tier receiver. The Bills did very well. This was a pick that I made that a lot of people were questioning. They got 11. And on Team Gouch, Phil Rivers was average. Zeke was only okay. He was playing awful Miami, only managed 14 fantasy points, not that great. DJ Moore got a dirty dozen. He looked great with the Panthers' new quarterback, Kyle Allen. He really made Cam Newton look like a fraud. I'm a Panthers fan, and I hope that we get rid of Newton and just roll with Allen. And I know the Cardinals' defense is bad, but Newton is a shell of what he
How's he
was
doing
in
fantasy-wise?
2015. Newton or
Yeah,
Allen?
Newton.
Not great.
I haven't seen him.
Newton has been dealing with foot injuries. He's not very good this year. Jackson dropped him. Jackson had him and then dropped him. Devote Freeman actually managed to get near 10, but we see Gouch take the L here. Lilly absolutely decimating Weston. And if we look at this game, Weston had a plethora of poor performances. Carson Wentz, the only guy to get double digits. This was a one-sided shellacking. And Weston finds himself losing to both me and Lilly to open up his divisional play.
Led by Matt Stafford, of all people.
Exactly. Matt Stafford coming in, and Lilly's running backs both performed well.
It's really, her team's actually really consistent, at least this week. Like, there's a lot of 10 and up players.
Yeah, she definitely performed well. Sterling Shepard, the Giants' best receiver, benefited from having Eli Manning, the quarterback, benched, and he started playing with the plucky rookie, the 6th overall pick, Daniel Jones. So essentially what that equates to is the fact that now Sterling Shepard has significantly increased value. Your dad is absolutely rolling, Kevin the Commish, and he took down Jackson this week to push Jackson down to 1-2. And the Commish's team is terrifying. Keenan Allen popped off in an ungodly way. Ingram of the Giants is known to catch the occasional touchdown, and this week he racked up to 113 yards. Cowboys defense shit all over in net Miami. The Commish looked good here.
It's got that, the Homer player
Special
is
teams.
winning for him. Yeah, this time around with Prescott and the defense.
If ever there was a time to have the special teams and defense and kicker of the Cowboys, it was against Miami.
Right. I think I kicked too.
Miami might actually go 0-16. They're that bad.
I hope so, dude.
They're horrible.
I just want to see it.
Make sure you're speaking up a bit and into
Oh,
the
yeah.
mic. Here we see Spencer go down in a relatively close game with Sam. Sam, who has had a shitty team, actually had Mike Evans pop off. I mean, 37 points from a receiver. It's just
That's amazing.
ludicrous. And the rest of his team was okay. Frank Gore benefited off of playing the awful Bungles defense, and almost more importantly, his counterpart in the backfield, Devin Singletary, is dealing with an injury. So Gore also had a good week. You know, Jared Goff has been immensely disappointing. I'm starting to sort of question whether the Rams were a legitimate NFC title tier team or whether they were just sort of one of these above average flash in the pan teams where Sean McVay figures out a few different strategies and they just happen to reel off a few wins and have a really good year, because they don't look all that great this year. I'm gonna
Oh
let
boy.
you tell me about this game from your perspective, Cameron.
I don't know. About, I don't know, halfway through Sunday, I was sure I was gonna lose. He was like a good 50 something points ahead of me at the time, maybe more, and I had like a kicker and a defense left, and they ended up both pulling through, but only losing by 3 points was really hard, especially because this was for number one in the division.
Yes, this was an absolutely huge game, and it always sucks to lose by less than 5 fantasy points, especially when you put up over 120. Usually that's good
Yeah,
enough to beat almost anyone.
and I think it was in this this week if I played almost anyone else
We,
except my dad.
were you worried about playing Aaron considering how hot he's been to start?
I mean, yeah, I thought it was gonna be a rough one. I thought I'd get it. Like I thought I'd still be able to pull through if either Anderson or McDonald had done anything. And that's literally what I was thinking going in. I didn't have a lot of other options, so I was like, all right, if they just get a little bit, I can do something with it. But they pulled me 2 points.
Yeah, considering the Jets quarterback, Sam Darnold, has mononucleosis and didn't play, the chance of the already relatively talentless Robbie Anderson doing well was very low. You did get about 62 from your top three, which is just absolutely incredible.
No, yeah, they definitely overperformed too. And the defense getting 21 is pretty. You don't see that too often.
Well, what are you going to do with Antonio Brown? He might never play another snap.
I'm probably gonna drop them.
I mean, how long are you
I
going to
mean,
give it?
not long. I don't know yet. I'm gonna have to. I might try and trade him off, see if anyone wants to take the risk, but I'm most likely going to just end up dropping him.
Would you expect to get anything but scraps?
No. But honestly, I mean, there's not a lot. He's not worth much anyway, so.
You should put a post up on the forum that says Antonio Brown is officially on the block. See if you get any takers.
I might just do that.
But this is a nice performance from Aaron. Lamar Jackson did well again despite losing. Dalvin Cook looks like a terror. If he can stay healthy, he might be this year's Saquon. Amari Cooper was great. That Dallas offense really looks exceptional. And Aaron gets the win there to move to 3-0. And here we see Ben, King of Funny, go down to 0-3.
This was a good one. I like watching this one.
It was a close game between him and No Fried. And of course, Mark Ingram absolutely popped off. He had 3 touchdowns, making it nearly impossible for Ben to win. Remember, with the Jets quarterback being out, that means Le'Veon Bell value basically goes down to nothing. Because that offense with the clowns that they had in it was just not going to really perform at all. Julian Edelman did reel in a touchdown, and Greg Olsen caught 2, really establishing a great rapport with young Kyle Allen, but the King of Funny here is not looking good. He's 0-3. He took Aaron Rodgers in the second round. And he hasn't broken 15 yet.
Oh boy.
He's ranked 21 for God's sake. It's going to be really hard for Ben to even make the wild card.
Oh yeah. At this point, I mean, he'd have to win the next 3 at least.
Yeah.
Probably in a row, like back to back to back.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like for him, but
Alrighty, so let's preview next week's matchups, Cameron. Let's start out with mine. We have me facing off against Sam, aka the New Guys. And just to start things off, we have Tom Brady facing off against the 3-0 Buffalo Bills. Remember, the Buffalo Bills are a team that not a lot of people believed in before the season, but they've looked very good in the initial few games. They've had a really soft schedule. Now they get to play Brady, a really talented guy, probably the best quarterback ever. Who do you think is the best quarterback ever? Cameron, is it Brady?
ever, probably not Brady. I'm biased because I don't like Brady.
You're going with Troy Aikman?
Troy Aikman, oh baby.
He's going with Troy, boys. But as far as this quarterback matchup goes, I would edge Brady, although Goff is playing a very soft defense.
I would probably edge Brady too over this at the very least.
Yeah, Brady, the epitome of consistency. But Jared Goff could actually have a pop-off game versus the inept Tampa defense. Then we have David Johnson facing off against the mighty Jamal Williams, who is competing with Aaron Jones for that backup sort of, I guess he's competing for the number 1 spot as the backup would be the way to phrase that, Kipo. But he's getting some touches, and David Johnson is considered to be very good. He's actually looked pretty solid this year, sort of a return to form. And he's playing against Seattle, who's pretty good. You have to give the edge to Johnson here, considering Williams is sort of like a number 2 guy. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, yeah, I think the, I don't know. I think they'll both do all right. I think it'll be really closer than you think, but I think Williams ultimately.
Interesting. So then we have Chris Carson going up against Montgomery, first name Worthless. And Chris Carson is a guy with fumbleitis. He's a guy that is pretty much trying to lose his job to Rashad Penny. And if he has a fumble or two this week, I would expect him to get benched permanently. Carson really needs to step up in a big way and have a pop-off week without any fumblesies. And guess what? He's playing Arizona, who are terrible. Now, David Montgomery is not only significantly less talented than Carson, but has a harder matchup. I think you have to edge Carson here.
No, yeah, I mean, I think I agree. It's the Browns, too, so it's like...
The Browns?
Oh, no, sorry. I get
The Bears.
Yeah, the Bears, sorry.
That's alright.
I am out of it.
It's cool. So Mike Evans and Julio Jones, 2 really good guys. Jones has the softer matchup. Tennessee looks awful. They're reeling. It really puts in perspective how much shit the Browns ate on opening week whenever they lost to Tennessee, and when you've seen how Tennessee has performed in the subsequent weeks. The Browns are being exposed. And I'd just like to take a moment to call out any trend-following dick rider who pretended to be I'm on the Browns. I'm really into the Browns. I'm rooting for the Browns this year. They're so exciting. They have Baker. The Browns have gone back to being the Browns. Now, they're not like Tim Couch joke shit tier level, but in terms of hype and projections versus performance, oh yeah, they're Browns in it. Because this is a team that if you look at it on paper, a lot of people projected to finish 9-7, and these guys look horrible. They're not just losing, they're losing and looking really bad and really lost and committing way too many penalties.
No, I agree. I think it's just like right to have the Browns suck. You know what I mean? Like they kind of have to be bad in my head. Like no matter how good they actually get, they'll always be bad to me.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right when you see the Browns win. That pretty much our whole lives the Browns have been a joke. There's actually this jersey in a Cleveland bar that's facing the window so people that walk by can see it. It's like in the square where there's a lot of foot traffic. And it has a Browns jersey of like Tim Couch, like one of their heralded quarterbacks from the 90s, guy they drafted that thought they would save him. And they have like, when Couch got replaced, they put like they like covered up his name and like got like a piece of paper and like wrote the name of the new quarterback and put it on there. And they've done it for like every quarterback since. Yeah, like the freaking list literally runs lower than the jersey. It's like Santa's list of the naughty. Okay.
I'd just be disappointed if they're ever even remotely good. You know?
It just would feel so off. You know. And I mean, when you think about some of the great names that have graced the Browns, you got Surgeon Spurgeon Wynn, Colt McCoy, washed up Jake Delhomme, Tim Couch, Johnny Football. This has been a team that has brought in one failed quarterback after another, and it is absolutely laughable what that franchise is. And, the Browns are a joke, everyone knows it, but for everyone to just jump on the Browns bandwagon and act like it's an original thought is truly sickening to me. If you said before the season you were going, I'm into the Browns, they're going to be good, I'm going to root for the Browns, keep fucking rooting for them. Bastard. These poor Cleveland fans suffered for like 2 decades, and this is after they lost the team itself. And you're going to bail after 3 weeks. Yeah, you're no Browns fan. At least Browns fans know how to take it in the ass in stride. They have experience with that. It's just sickening to me to hear all these trend followers.
I think everyone just knew how bad they typically are and wanted to be the one ahead of the curve.
Right, they wanted to be the first guy. Oh, the Browns, I called it. Yeah, I called it. Yeah, like, dude, they were like above average. I called it. I'm so smart. Duke Johnson, 2K yards. Oh, wait, he's a Texan. Big old chub in my mouth. Shout out to you guys that drafted Chubb, because that's been a big old chub in your mouth this year, okay? and don't expect it to get better. Remember, guys, the people that drafted Nick Chubb expected him to be absolutely god tier because in week 10 Kareem Hunt becomes unsuspended. So Nick Chubb being average really hurts people who drafted him because the guy has a clock on him. So let's return back to this game. Michael Thomas facing a banged up Dallas defense. Xavier Woods, one of the Cowboys' best players, went down with an injury. But I really don't believe in Stephon Diggs. You can click on anything. But Michael Thomas, along with Devontae Adams, they've been like 1 and 2 in touchdown catches. If you look at like the last 5 years, he's very consistent, and he had a good game even with Drew Brees. And we can see here that Stephon Diggs failed to break 10 all year.
He has not had a good season.
Yeah, and this is a guy who is second fiddle to this white guy named Adam Thielen, who's really talented, and I believe Jackson has. I give Thomas the edge here big time.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I don't want to since they're playing the Cowboys, but, I give him the edge. I give Thomas the edge.
Diggs is also facing the best defense in the league, the Chicago Bears. So that is another point against him. Vernon Davis, a bye week fill-in for George Kittle. He's only had one good week. There's not a lot on the waiver wire in terms of tight end depth, but he's playing the horrifically bad New York Giants defense. He's facing off against Eric Ebron, who I actually like quite a bit. I would give Ebron the edge in this.
I probably would too, but very barely. Like they're both. Neither of them are very good.
Agreed. Agreed.
They're both, third tier tight ends.
Vernon Davis was good like a decade ago when he was dating pretty wild star Tess Taylor. Google her. It's okay, guys. If you're watching, pause the vid. Google her. A safe search off Google Images. Okay, Tess Taylor. Randall Cobb facing off against Frank Gore. Singletary is still banged up. Even though Gore's playing New England, I would expect him to outperform Randall Cobb.
Yeah, I would probably agree. Gore's getting old anyway.
Gore is getting old.
I remember having him on my team like close to a decade ago, probably, like on my fantasy team.
I remember in junior high hearing the phrase, Frank Gore is a downhill runner, from every caster ever.
I mean, if you're looking at him from points-wise this season, though, he is killing,
When Singletary's out, he's good. He's consistent. Yeah. But one thing I'd like to note about Randall Cobb is in the Cowboy game last week, Cobb had a monstrously long touchdown called back on a hold, and he had like a 35-yard reception called back on a hold. So he had over 9 fantasy points redacted. And that actually gave Amari Cooper an undeserved touchdown, which cost you your game.
Yeah?
Yeah, because Cobb had his called back and they later would score with Cooper. Yeah, that's one of those things where you have to watch the whole game. Because a lot of times a guy can underperform and it's like, what the fuck happened? And if you can watch highlights, but the highlights aren't going to fucking show plays that get called back, so it can be a little bit confusing if you're not certain about the penalties. Will Lutz is facing Dallas. I expect him to have a good day. And Adam Vinatieri is facing Oakland. I think Lutz will get the small edge here. What do you think about the kickers, Cameron?
Yeah, I don't know much about either of these kickers, honestly. I think Lutz will probably get quite a few opportunities. The Dallas defense is worn out, maybe a little beaten up, but
they're missing Xavier Woods. Yeah,
but I think they'll at least be able to hold to a few, field goals, so he might have some opportunity.
It's weird because on some level you want your kicker to be on the most highest powered offense possible, but a lot of times if you get a kicker that is on an offense that stalls out a lot, they can get field goals as opposed to extra points, and it'll actually help you more. Right. That's what a lot of people do with the Texans kicker.
A few seasons back with goddamn, what's his name? Cowboys' old kicker.
Brett Maher?
No,
the one that got released?
Yeah.
Nick Folk?
No. Bailey?
Dan Bailey.
Dan Bailey, yeah, there we go. Dan Bailey. I had him for like 2 seasons in a row, and he was always killer when our offense was awful.
Yeah, Dan Bailey was god tier for his time, and they gave him a huge contract. And like some kickers, he sucked for 3 weeks and was like never heard of again.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
Kickers are some of the most bizarre, unpredictable people in sports. Because
like somehow the most consistent, I feel like, too. Like I very rarely don't get points from a kicker. You know what I mean? Like,
True, but once they really falter and have a bad week, it can like break their brain, and
I
they're
think it's
never the
just 'cause it's
same.
so mental for kickers, more so than like a running back, even sometimes.
To your point, there were kickers that were exceptional for years. Vanderjack, my personal favorite ever, David Akers, who's right up there with Riley Cooper in terms of my favorite Philadelphia Eagles. Vinatieri, although Vinatieri, he's on an offense that's not all that great, so that's probably about a wash regardless.
Oh.
And here we have the Jaguars defense playing against terrible Joe Flacco in Denver, and then the Chargers defense against Miami, who I actually tried to pick up but couldn't get. So, what do you think about this? I think the Chargers have the edge here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Miami's just god awful, so I think
Oh, they're horrible.
Chargers better have the advantage here.
Who would you predict to win this game?
I don't know. I'm gonna go with you, honestly. At the end of the day, I think it'll be close though.
Yeah, I'm gonna give myself. I'm gonna give myself a slight edge based on the fact I think David Montgomery will get 5, and I think Julio Jones is due for a big week, and I think Michael Thomas is also gonna catch a touchdown, and Randall Cobb, even though he's only projected 6, I expect him to get 10. But I think this game will be close, and Sam's team right now looks a lot stronger than it has previously. All right, we got your sister Lily versus Jackson, and what is essentially a must-win game for both teams. Neither team wants to go down to 1-3, especially not someone as competitive as Jackson. Jackson is taking advantage of Daniel Jones's strong opening performance, and he's going to play him versus god-awful Washington. I mean, Jones put up 34 points last week. He was great, but Washington is absolutely horrific.
I mean, go back to Jones real quick. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, was he hurt? He was.
No,
No, he didn't play. That's
Eli
messed up.
Eli was playing, and they got embarrassed.
I saw .82. I was
Yeah,
like, wait,
they
what?
got embarrassed so bad against the Cowboys. They put him in like the fourth quarter, and he fumbled,
Okay,
and it
that's
was a
what
joke.
yeah.
That was his like first starting debut. And I think Stafford will put up 18, but Daniel Jones I think is going to get like 21.
I don't know though. I mean, we haven't seen very much of Jones.
That's true.
Like I think I'm gonna go with Stafford just because I feel like he's more. I don't know. He's gonna be more. He's more consistent at the very least. Even
Right.
if he maybe doesn't top out as high,
He's established.
he's established. You have no idea what you're gonna get out of Jones.
Then we have Leonard Fournette versus Joe Mixon. These were two guys who were sort of touted as to be the upper echelon of tier 2. Like if you couldn't get Zeke, Christian McCaffrey, those top tier guys, Alvin Kamara, these were the guys that you could pick up in like the second round. Well, neither have been very good. Mixon was dealing with an injury. He was decent last week, but at the end of the day,
15.
yeah, that's solid, but I would have to give Mixon the edge here because he's playing a struggling Pittsburgh team, and I think he's a bit better than Fournette.
No, yeah, I mean I agree, and I think he did have a better game last week, and I think maybe he's healed up to the point where he can be more consistent again too.
Well, you have to consider that Fournette is on an offense led by a rookie named Gardner Minshew II, who's just not explosive at all, and all of his receivers are either talentless or dropaholics. So they just stack the box versus Fournette. If you look at the stats, the Jaguars have the most games played against a stacked box if you look at percentage of offensive plays ran. Aaron Jones is losing his job very badly, and last week Alvin Kamara was targeted excessively by Teddy Bridgewater. Kamara gets the huge edge here.
Yeah, there's no question really, I don't think.
Sammy Watkins, this is one of these guys that is going to get you 30 or nothing. He's
38,
he's
37,
3 touchdowns.
4.
Wildly inconsistent guy.
Wow.
They're playing Detroit, who has shit defense, versus OBJ. I would actually give OBJ the edge here. I think he's good for maybe 10, and I think Watkins will have another bad week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think again, Odell is just he kind of like Stafford. He's established and more consistent. I just think I'm going to trust Odell Beckham way more than I will
Sammy Watkins. Oh, I feel like Odell Beckham is a little bit overrated in general, though, in terms of where people draft him.
Yeah, I
Like
would.
he's a Julio Jones or a Michael Thomas or a Devonte Adams. He's a little bit below that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, he doesn't put up those 22-point games that often, or not consistently enough to really bring him up too high.
All right, let's assume that the Tampa Bay second option, Chris Godwin, plays. I still think he will do worse than Brandon Cooks, a consistent player and a solid offense playing against a shit defense.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree if he plays. I don't know. He didn't participate. So.
But I think Cooks will outperform Godwin.
Oh, is that okay? Gotcha. Cook and Godwin.
Cooks is solid, and then
Yeah.
Godwin is pretty good too.
I don't know. That one's gonna be a close one. If Godwin plays, I think he may have the advantage.
Okay.
I mean, it's at LA too, and I don't know. They've been so spotty.
Jared Cook has been AIDS on a stick,
Uh,
and Teddy Bridgewater really didn't make any use of him in the game that he played last week. So I'm just gonna have to give Delaney Walker the advantage.
no, yeah, I agree.
Or it's Darren Waller. My eyes like auto-corrected, which is pretty funny. This guy was like a drug addict and missed a couple years and is now just recently back.
He's doing well, or at least
Yeah, he's
decent.
ranked 3 for
Yeah.
sure.
And yeah, he's definitely over Cook.
Sterling Shepard absolutely popped off last week, and Golden Tate still won't be back until next week. So, considering they're playing Washington, I would really expect Shepard to do well.
Yeah, I don't know honestly much about Galladay.
He's
but-
basically the Lions' number 1 option.
okay.
He's solid.
I think with Tate still out, I would give it
to
I'll give
Shepard.
it Shepard. Yeah.
Well, the Washington's defense is so soft, and I know Jackson a lot of times likes to look at these like sort of like matchup idiosyncrasies. And what I mean by that is he has Daniel Jones, the Giants quarterback, and Lilly has the Giants' best receiver.
Mhm.
So if Daniel Jones does really well, there's a chance some of those points will be blocked by Sterling Shepard.
Oh yeah. I
neutralized
think that's actually a
effectively.
huge. I mean, bigger than you maybe give it credit for advantage on Lily's end.
Especially when you consider top-tier back Saquon Barkley, the PSU alum. I found a rawhide that's pretty funny. The PSU alum Saquon Barkley sustained a relatively severe injury, a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss 4 to 8 weeks. That means that Daniel Jones is going to be targeting Shepard a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. He's going to get a lot of looks. So I give Shepard an edge.
He's gonna look good this week, I think.
You can let him outside if you want. And I really think that Sterling Shepard is going to get over 15. I know that's a bold prediction in a way, but I really do think he's going to do very well.
No, I agree.
Then we have Houston's kicker, who, if we look at, has not played very well. He's only made 2 field goals all year. He's ranked 24. However, Carolina is not that good. Justin Tucker, the most accurate kicker ever, a UT alum. I'm definitely going to give Tucker the edge in a game in which I think the Ravens will beat up Cleveland.
Yeah, I'll give him the edge too. Kickers are just hard for me sometimes because it does depend so much on how your team specifically is doing that week. You know,
Right.
like
It's
I don't
almost
know,
a
I
view,
mean,
like the thing, with only 32 spots in the NFL, you can sort of assume that like a kicker is going to be useful. Like they're not going to trot out like a retard out there unless you're fucking Minnesota Vikings and you make an entire team and habit out of that. But with Justin Tucker, he's the most accurate guy in the league, very consistent, solid offense with a lot of weapons. You know, what's really important for the Baltimore Ravens is for their quarterback to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, Lamar Jackson, guess what? You know, their division's a joke. The Bungles are the Bungles. You know, there's a reason they call them the Bungles. They're terrible. A.J. Green, their best player by far, is severely injured. He's not coming back
Bengals are one of the teams that
anytime soon.
It exists sometimes.
Yes,
Like,
they're a
forget
joke.
about them entirely.
Hey! Don't fucking do that.
Hey, she stole that from him.
You're a bratty little monkey, Elise.
Hey,
Did he bite her, or was he biting the rawhide?
he's getting the rawhide.
Okay, it looked from my view, looked like he got her neck.
I don't think so. I could have grabbed it. She's kind of
Why don't you give him that?
Yeah.
Put him in the other room and give her one of those.
Lacey.
No, just shut the door. So he likes to play with that. He'll be quiet. We're having a little bit of dog issues here. Cameron brought his I'm not going to. Cameron brought his beautiful husky. That is a son of my husky and a son of his husky. Sort of like the closest thing we'll ever get to having a gay adopted son.
So far, at least.
No, I'm going to go ahead and say that in perpetuity. But regardless, Justin Tucker will outperform the Houston kicker. And as far as defenses go, the Rams are playing Tampa Bay, a team that tends to run it up, and the Packers are playing Philly, probably the most overrated team in the NFL. You know, Philly might be the most overrated, but I think the Browns are the most dick road. I'm going to actually give the advantage to the Pack here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go with Rams just for sake of argument. I think this one, both their defenses they're nothing to write home about, but I'm going to say Rams. I don't know how they've performed throughout the rest of this season so far.
Well, you have to consider they're playing Jameis Winston, who has a ton of interceptions.
That's a good point. I'm still going to go with Rams. I'm just going to go with my gut on this one. Rams
Fair enough. So who's going to win this game?
I don't know. I feel like Jackson probably has the slight edge. But again, I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going Lily.
Okay.
I'm going with blood on this one.
I think that Jackson looks good, except for at the receiver position, in which he is a little bit weak. Now, he does have Thielen benched versus Chicago, and he can always move him back up, but there's no other receiver options on his bench.
Right. I'll also point out, I know Lily sometimes changes her team late in the week, so this could very well not be final.
Well, there's no one on her bench that she would put in.
There's no one. That's really where it is there.
Yeah.
Her 3 quarterbacks.
Definitely not. Alrighty. So this is your game.
Oh, baby.
Alright, you can lead off this one. You can tell me what you think. Just give me your
Just
opinions.
overall? I think.
No, go player by player like we've been doing.
Okay, let's see. I don't know. I think overall though, I think I'm gonna have I think he just lost to Lily, and I would have. I don't know. I think he lost to Lily last week. I should be able to take him. I should have the overall advantage, but I'm a little biased. Watson's been good for me so far this season.
He's been great.
He's
been really
good. Bad 12-point week.
I mean, that's 12.
That's still acceptable.
It's not horrific.
Right. How's Wentz been? Philadelphia.
Pretty good.
He's been. They're pretty equal. I'm gonna give it to Watson.
Okay.
Because he's a Watson and he's my quarterback.
Is that why you drafted him?
No, but it's it maybe played a part.
Rex Burkhead has been good for you too.
He has been. I've been pretty happy with him. He's
solid.
Yeah,
running
he's been
back
solid.
too.
He's no starter, but
yeah, McCaffrey has just been god tier.
McCaffrey's been amazing. I'm really hoping I can get, I don't know, even Gordon or something in there soon. It's rough whenever like my first 2-round draft picks were both out from the beginning essentially.
Yep.
Connor. I don't know. What do you think about Connor?
Disappointing.
Is he?
Just like the rest of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh might fucking lose 11 games. They're really shitty.
Is that bad?
They're completely struggling. They lost, out of their team last year, they lost Antonio Brown, like the best receiver in the league.
True.
Le'Veon Bell, a top 3 running back in the league. And Ben Roethlisberger blew his elbow out last week. So they have a backup in. So he's just... And it's Connor is not good enough to like, oh, okay, our quarterback's hurt. We're gonna give him the rock 30 times and he's gonna carry us.
They might try and do that.
I mean,
it doesn't look like he's good enough to really pull through it. But so he may perform a little better than average. But I'm still going. I don't know. I think Burkhead's pretty middle of the road. But I think I'm gonna give it to Connor. Honestly, I don't
blame you.
More chances than I think Burkhead.
Burkhead's on a better offense, but Connor really doesn't have anyone to compete with.
Yeah.
Burkhead has like fucking 5 people
And
in
with
that
the
offense.
hurt quarterback, he's going to be relied on way heavier.
True.
Whether he's worth it or not.
True. And even though I think that Josh Jacobs has been, even though he's been declining,
Yeah.
you would have to give the edge to McCaffrey, who is arguably the best back in the league now that Saquon is injured.
Oh yeah, I mean 32 point. He had the 5-point week, which was just a fluke, but like I've been really happy with him.
McCaffrey could break 200 with the Kyle Allen. Like Cam Newton just sucked the power out of that offense.
I mean, yeah, I think if he keeps up any kind of consistency he's had these first 3 weeks, like I think he definitely could. So,
Robert Woods versus T.Y. Hilton.
I don't know. We'll see. If he plays, I want to give it to Hilton.
He's been surprisingly good
Yeah.
despite Luck retiring.
Yeah, I mean he's been doing pretty well this season. I don't know how bad he's hurt or why he's out, honestly. But I haven't
Still
looked
up
at
in the air, it
yeah.
says.
But LA is just so all over the place. I'm gonna give it to Hilton, assuming he plays.
Alrighty. Now we see you have Adam Humphries in, who, because you didn't start last week, you lost. You started Robbie Anderson and his ridiculous hair instead. Although I can see why you didn't fucking start Humphries, because he was dog shit in weeks 1 and 2.
Yeah, I honestly have no faith in Humphries. I'm hoping he just had a bad couple weeks and now he's gonna pick it up. But if I were betting on this, I would say he's not gonna do much. But I was done with what's his face.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson,
Robbie
who's
Anderson.
a joke.
So I wanted to give him another shot.
You know, one thing to consider is Golden Tate will be back next week, which will help you. And
Golden Tate, I mean, I don't know if Antonio Brown, I'm probably not gonna keep a hold on him.
well, I know you don't follow all of his ridiculous moves. Even the most hardcore football fan can merely be repulsed with all the shit that this clown does, including dyeing his mustache blonde.
Oh, did he? I didn't
did.
see that.
His mustache blonde and his dreads blue. This guy's a clown.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I think about Antonio Brown, I think about his statements like him saying he was retiring. And I just don't know for you, even though he is very talented when he plays, I just don't know how long it's worth keeping him on your roster, because you could have like another good receiver in his place.
No, yeah, I mean, I think if I can get any kind of trade going, or honestly even just a subpar, free agent waiver receiver would be better to hold on to than him at this point. I think him and getting Jackson back healthy would be huge, because I mean it's hard to say, but he popped off week 1 and then was injured the next week.
Right.
So
He's
I
sort of a
think-
boomer bust guy, but he has some potential.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot more potential than say Humphries. Like,
Definitely. Humphries is not a very good player, man.
and then if we ever get Gordon to sign,
It's coming.
It's a mess.
Keep
man.
your head up.
It's a mess. Like half my good players are all out.
Cameron, if you can focus and be more active on the waiver wire, you can make the playoffs this year.
I'm
This is a
trying, man.
weird year.
I'm trying. But let's see.
Well, if we're looking at the rest of this matchup, Weston has Scary Terry versus a shit-tier Giants defense.
We skipped that.
He's going to,
Oh, yeah.
I know, we're going to move around a bit. He'll do better than Dorsett, I think. This guy's a huge part of their
Dorsett
offense.
was a last-minute pickup and actually did. He got me 12 points last week. I think he could be kind of boomer bust too, but I don't know. I mean, I don't have enough experience with him. He was a good last-minute pick. You don't expect 12 points out of the last minute. Waiver wire.
A lot of Patriots guys are boomer bust in the sense that there's so many weapons on the Patriots, they just won't get looks some weeks.
That makes sense.
Then this is one, I don't know if you've heard me say this, but in my post-draft ranking video, I said that you got the best defense and a top 3 kicker, and you've never been a guy who likes to do what's called streaming, where you basically like will pick up a new defense or a new kicker
no.
based on matchup. So it was actually intelligent for you to go ahead and get these top tier guys, because now you don't have to really worry about streaming. You can just plug the same 2 in every week.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought both defense and kicker were very underrated positions in fantasy football.
Right.
Because if you pick the right players, you can get almost a guaranteed 20 points from those 2 alone.
Agreed.
So, I mean, I don't try to draft them too early, but I try to get something that will last, that I don't have to switch out every week, like you said.
Right. It's probably a good decision stylistically. If you can keep your running backs bolstered, and once Gordon finally signs, I think you'll be in good position. You'll be looking good.
I'm hoping once I get some, some of these suspensions out of the way and some that's, signings, I might have a real run at it.
So who are you going to edge here?
I'm gonna give it to myself. I don't know. I think I got this one. Hopefully, pretty solidly. I hope I'm not biting myself for saying that, but I think I should. I think this one should be me.
I'm actually going to edge Weston here.
Really?
Yeah, because I think Scary Terry is going to have a day versus that shit tier defense. I think that Carson Wentz will do reasonably well. I think Robert Woods is due for a good game. I think Adams will catch a touchdown. I think considering Hilton's injury, you're looking Riley Blake soft at receiver. I mean, what's softer than an injured guy that might not play and this joker who was basically 0-0 and then sub-10. And if you look at your bench, injured, suspended,
I'd have to put in Williams.
this guy's a fucking
And
dolphin. That's worse than being injured or
He at
suspended.
least could get me 6 points. He's consistently mediocre.
He's not very good.
That's what I know.
Let me just go ahead and give you some friendly advice.
Uh-huh.
You shouldn't have a dolphin on your team. They're that bad. Not a single guy.
That's fair.
All right, we got Sea Goucher versus No Fried. And whenever you look at our league, there are 3 teams that are 3-0, which means you're going to have a lot of teams with losing records. There are quite a few 1-2 teams who just need to win this week. They cannot afford to lose. Being down 1-3, is brutal. So we look at Goucher here, and as usual, he needs a huge week from Zeke Elliott. He's playing New Orleans. This is basically the Cowboys Super Bowl, Cameron. Remember last year, the Cowboys were at an impasse. It looked as though they were going to miss the playoffs. Jerry Jones came out and said, this upcoming game against New Orleans is our Super Bowl. And what happened? The Cowboys freaking won. And that was a huge moment. That was a season-defining moment for the Cowboys. And this will be a great game Sunday night. Although Mark Ingram popped off last week, popped off week 1, he's a very terrifying opponent for Zeke. Cameron, who would you give the edge to between these two?
I don't know, man. I mean, if Ingram pops off again, then he pulls 30 points like he did last week. But I'm gonna go Elliott. I'm gonna go with consistency over the blind luck of him actually, popping off and scoring you 40 points or 30 points.
Yeah, I think both of these guys are due for big games. I would expect over 16 from both, frankly.
Yeah, I would agree.
Kerryon Johnson versus Sony Michel. I'd give Johnson the advantage here. Michel has a lot of different people that he competes with. Johnson not really so much. Although the Detroit Lions are definitely an air-it-out team more than a run-first team. Phillip Rivers is playing freaking Miami. Russell Wilson's playing freaking Arizona. Okay, Wilson put up fucking 41 last week. That's what rush yards do for you, dude.
That's insane.
But I would actually edge Russell here because he's a running quarterback. And the Chargers, as usual, played down to their competition and have looked shitty. They lost to both Houston and Detroit and almost lost to Indy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Wilson's just a better quarterback in general, too. Especially from a fantasy perspective.
DJ Moore versus Fitz. Now, the Arizona Cardinals have started to improve slowly but surely. I actually give the advantage to DJ Moore here. I think he's starting to establish rapport with Kyle Allen. I'm just absolutely loving this as a Panther fan.
Yeah.
That I'm not locked into another 8-8 Scam Newton season. What did he do? So O.J. Howard is facing off against Travis Kelce. Kelce is a top-tier guy, and he looks very strong. However, O.J. Howard, if we just look at this guy's stats, not good at all. Pretty much a bust this year. Obvious edge to Kelce, who of course has been good. Maybe not as good as some people were taking him. He's ranked 4, but last year he was putting up receiver tier numbers. I expect Kelce to do pretty well though. John Ross versus Devote Freeman. Ross had a couple great weeks and then was fucking terrible. Just absolutely horrific. Although with AJ Green out, he's definitely going to get more targets. He's playing an abysmal Pittsburgh team. Devote has yet to break 10. I'm actually going to give the edge to Ross here, although I think Devote will do pretty well. We have Elliott here, Jake Elliott, facing off against Gostkowski, the Patriots kicker. You got to give the edge to Gostkowski here. I don't think the Pats will decimate Buffalo, but I think they will beat them pretty easily. The Seattle Seahawks versus the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are playing Chicago's defense. Chicago's defense is dominant, and I think the Vikings are going to lose that game. Seahawks are playing Arizona. This is a bit of a toss-up for me, frankly. I guess I'll edge the Vikings because of Big Dick Mitch Trubisky and his ineptitude, his love of interceptions, and general cluelessness. And I would definitely edge No Fried here. Clap for Bacon versus the King of Funny. King of Funny has to win this game. There's really no other option for him. He's 0-3. He's trying not to become a meme, frankly. It's almost like he's not even battling for playoff contingency. He's just trying not to be a meme at this point. Are you not going to put your water down? Derrick Henry against Marlon Mack. I think it's, an interesting matchup because Derrick Henry has done so well. But Marlon Mack has been surprisingly decent despite Andrew Luck retiring. I think a lot of people really thought that once Andrew Luck retired, basically every Colt was going to be fucking terrible and unplayable. Which is sort of interesting to see that the Colts have been passable behind Jacoby Brissett. Although you have to remember that, in contrast, people were sucking off Luck so deep and saying that basically every year he was going to lead Indianapolis to a AFC title game. When the fact of the matter is, all he did was get hurt and put up a few empty regular season numbers that no one really gave a fuck about. Andrew Luck, one of the most overrated quarterbacks of all time. And we're tuning in here back with Cameron. Nick Chubb versus Phillip Lindsay. What do you think about this one, Cameron? Lindsay got 2 touchdowns last week.
I'm going Chubb on this one. I don't know. Lindsey did well last week, but I don't think he's too hit or miss.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chubb is better.
Chubb is very consistent. He's normally consistently over 10 points too, and I think that means a lot more than just the occasional 20-point game followed with 3 5-point games in between.
He's definitely solid. I gave him a little bit of shit at the top of the show, and that was more a reference as to what people were projecting him to do and the fact that once Kareem Hunt comes back, things are going to get messy. But, yeah, I definitely edged Chubb. Keenan Allen was god tier last week, and he's playing Miami this week. Give me a break. This guy, it's not close. He's going to dominate Edelman. Just dominate him.
Edelman's solid, but, yeah, I think if you're playing Miami, that's enough almost, if you're even halfway decent.
Adrian Peterson, who the Castors sucked off for 30 straight minutes after he scored this touchdown versus the Cowboys, is way too old.
Yeah, I can't believe he's still in the league. I thought he retired, actually.
And this DeMarcus Robinson guy, the speedster, is actually a great dark horse pick that AB told me about a few weeks ago. He's been putting up big numbers recently, and I'm going to give him the edge over old ancient Peterson.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Peterson still has some in him. He's got a little bit left. He's a good second, wide receiver. But, I think ultimately Robinson.
Evan Ingram and Greg Olsen are both going to have big weeks coming off of great performances, and Evan Ingram gets to play fucking Washington. So there's that. He also has a young quarterback he's establishing a rapport with, just like Olsen. This is a very similar matchup. Allen Robinson has been okay, not great. He broke 10 once, but he's yet to reel in a touchdown. You really want to target receivers that get a lot of touchdown looks, and considering Big Dick Mitch can't even get it in the end zone, Robinson's value is highly limited. Terrell Williams, even though he's had a few good weeks, is not all that talented. He's one of these guys who is supposed to be filling in for AB, but I just don't really believe in it all that much. Although I think you would still have to give him the edge over Robinson, who has one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the league throwing to him.
No, I mean, yeah, I would agree. I think. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. No, I think Williams is just a better player too. Like, I don't know. Robinson's okay, but I think Williams will definitely have it.
Then we see the Ravens facing off against Cleveland's defense and the Denver kicker, who is not all that good, versus the Cowboys special teams unit. I think the Cowboys special teams unit will be severely tested in New Orleans. I think the Ravens will do well against Cleveland, but McManus will not do very well against Jacksonville. So it's sort of a push for me, but I guess I edge Clap for
Game wise or defense wise?
defense and special team wise.
Okay, yeah, I'm going Cowboys. I gotta go Cowboys.
But I also give Clap for the edge in this game.
I think so too. I think, like you said earlier, this is kind of a must-win for Ben, which is a rough game to be a must-win.
Yeah, his
considering
Clap
how
for is on
good-
fire.
Yeah, he's been wild this season. So, I don't know. Sorry, Ben.
And here we have the game of the week. Spencer, who's projected pretty severely to lose to Aaron, who has just been red hot. Spencer's going with Kyle Allen again versus his very own Houston Texans, but Lamar Jackson is just going to eat the undisciplined Browns alive. I edge him heavily.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jackson's got it. I mean, he's had an amazing season so far.
He's getting those rush yards, man. Shady McCoy versus Dalvin Cook. This is a very interesting matchup, and McCoy did practice, so we can assume that he'll play. Dalvin Cook, though, has just been freaking amazing. I'm going to give Cook the edge here. He's the top-ranked running back at the moment.
He's putting up points like more than a quarterback. Like,
Yeah,
like
he's been
consistently.
crazy.
It's insane. Yeah.
And then if we look at Ronald Jones, pretty disappointing, and you compare him to Austin Eckler, who Aaron is desperately trying to milk the absolute last drop of worth from before Melvin Gordon comes back. Once Gordon comes back, this guy's production will be severely cut.
Yeah, I mean, who knows when that'll be though? I
I would say within 3 weeks. There was
Really?
there was a report that they were getting closer in contract negotiations.
Because last I heard, I think you have more updated information, but I just heard that he wanted to play for somebody this season. It wasn't even necessarily going to be the Chargers. So, I don't know. I mean, he put up 30 points the first week. If he can pull one or two more of those this season, it might, that's definitely getting your money's worth.
Well, there are a few things that Aaron is relying on this year for him to win the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson staying healthy and Melvin Gordon staying out of Eckler's way is a big factor. Also, Cook staying healthy, which he has not really done in the past. Because if you look at Aaron's receivers, it's just consistency. Tyler Lockett, Amari Cooper, two guys who are the focus of their offense. Cooper is ranked fourth, or that was Tyler Lockett. I'm all sorts of confused. Lockett's 7th in points, Cooper's 4th.
Wow.
So that's what I was going to say originally, is they're both top 10 in points. I guess you could say top 7 if you wanted to be cutesy Q. But this is a very scary team from Aaron. This initial top little 5 of his quarterback, running backs, and receivers is just fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what killed me last week. Like, he only beat me by 3 points or something, but those top 5 probably scored him 100 of those. Like, I didn't do the exact math, but
I would give
it's close to it.
I would give Aaron the advantage in all top 5 positions. And then if you want to go to tight end, yes, Zach Ertz is better than Disley. But Zach Ertz basically had no competition last week. It was his 2 best receivers on his team were gone. And you know what they did? They just threw to Nelson Aguilar over and over and over. They just kept throwing to Nelson Aguilar, who can't catch anything. And you have to consider that Aguilar's ineptitude actually fucking lost them a game against Detroit, which is sickening. And we got old Cooper Kupp against Todd Gurley. Gurley didn't do very well against the Browns last week, but he's playing soft-ass Tampa Bay this week. So is Cooper Kupp. I expect both of these guys to have over 10. I actually think Cooper Kupp will do better than Gurley. I think he'll catch a touchdown.
I actually agree. I think Gurley hasn't been what he used to be this season. Like, all season, he's been fine. Like, it's just about as best you can say, I think, for Gurley.
Agreed. and he's had that knee arthritis that's been bothering him.
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Butker against a weak defense, I think, will outperform the Panthers kicker.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take your word on that one. I don't know a lot about either of these two kickers, so.
The Steelers are a joke, but they get to play the Bungles, and the Patriots get to play Buffalo. Buffalo turns it over quite a bit. I'm actually going to edge the Pats defense here.
Yeah, I think those two will be pretty similar in points, but yeah, probably the Pats by a small margin.
I give Aaron the edge here.
Oh yeah, I give Aaron a significant edge here, in my opinion, especially after playing him last week.
Yeah, it's going to be really brutal for Spencer if he starts off with a 1-3 record. It's just going to really suck.
Especially after he gave himself the highest score in his own
his
power
own projections.
Rankings, yeah.
Alrighty, so that'll do it for this week's TWIF. Cameron, do you have any closing thoughts?
I don't. I just let's make the playoffs this season.
That would be a sight to behold, Cameron. Like, comment, sub.